You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Friday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
We got a long weekend upon us. We hope you guys have some fun. Stay safe out there. I do have a question, though.
Okay.
Would you say it's a dick move to have a wedding on a long weekend?
In the summertime, absolutely it is. 100% it is. I will stand by that until the end of time, unless climate change gives us more warm, long weekends. July, August, September, knock it off.
Courtney's working 2 weddings, one today, one tomorrow.
I mean, at least
Which I hope they don't listen to the podcast. But she's working 2 weddings, so thank you for hiring my girlfriend and putting some food on our table.
I was going to say, at least she's getting paid.
Yes.
Right? When you're just invited. Like, if I was getting married and I was like, August long weekend, buddy, I expect you there.
The Saturday isn't as bad because you're already guaranteed, like, you're going to have that day off. The Sunday, whatever, you recover, go back on whatever Sunday night, Monday.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Friday sucks more, where it's like you have to take the extra day off going into the long weekend.
Oh, Friday wedding just in general is asking, I feel like weddings ask a lot of the guests. Like, hey, I'm pumped for you. You've met the person of your dreams. You're getting married. All that, that's great. I got you a toaster and I'm here. Stop asking me to fly to Mexico or take time off work or any of this
You
other
selfish
nonsense.
prick. I feel like...
Was I giving that energy?
No. I get it, man. I've honestly thought that sometimes at weddings, they should have a complaint box. Like, they have that little book where you can write all the little notes in there.
Yeah.
But if you had a complaint box, I guarantee you there'd be some serious shit to be said.
I went to one travel wedding, like destination wedding in Mexico. It was for my wife's like absolute closest friend. That made sense. But if we are anything less than like blood brothers, soul sisters, you better be getting married within a 45 to an hour long drive.
And people always pick the worst times to have these destination weddings. It's like, have you ever stopped to think about anybody but yourselves?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're getting married this weekend, especially if you're maybe on your way to an airport to go to Mexico to get married,
fuck you.
No, I hope you have a great time. We have a great time. Only people who listen to the podcast are allowed to have destination weddings.
I hope you guys get divorced like my parents.
Jesus Christ.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We were trying to figure it out the other day. We were like, what is the August long weekend called? And our text line just lit up and everyone was like, civic holiday, civic holiday, civic holiday, civic holiday.
Which, to be fair, it's not called civic holiday. It just is a civic holiday that technically for most of Ontario has no name at all.
Yeah, which is weird because when we lived in Saskatchewan, it was Saskatchewan Day. When I lived in BC, it was BC Day. And then every other province kind of has like its own little name. I think Manitoba's like Terry Fox Day.
Yeah.
Newfoundland's Regatta Day or something like that.
All the other provinces celebrate various things. There's no like unifying theme. And then in Ontario, there's a smattering of communities. Most of them sort of dedicate this weekend to like a person who meant a lot to that city.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but Oshawa is named after the guy who brought General Motors to Ontario.
Oh, I thought it was going to be named after the guy who made the shiv.
No. That's a different holiday that you celebrate privately.
I think the civic holiday, if that's what we're going to keep calling it in the province, should only be available to anyone who has a Honda Civic. That's how it works. Imagine if that's how it was. Like, you know, like, remember like Toyotathon days that they have like those deals? Like, that's a long weekend.
Imagine you have to go into your boss on Friday and submit like your vehicle registration to get the Monday off. Like, you're driving a Focus. You're out of here. See you at your desk on Monday.
But I do think there should actually be a name for the long weekend, because every long weekend has got its name. I mean, hell, like the May 2-4 like is such a huge thing out here.
It's massive, even though it very rarely falls on the 24th anymore.
And do you name it after someone? Do you call it like the August 2-liter or something? Like, I don't know.
The August case long weekend?
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, we could use the weekend to be honest with ourselves. You've said it a number of times this week, and it's broken my heart every time. Just make it a holiday. It's the end of summer weekend. Hey, the summer's coming
That's
to
the
an end
Labor Day
weekend.
weekend, though. That's the wrap up of
guess.
summer. That's always the tail end before kids go back to school, right?
So then you call it like the midsummer long weekend? Midsummer feels kind of weird.
After that horror movie?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know.
It doesn't have the right vibe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like calling it Camp Crystal Lake long weekend.
I'm trying to think of like famous Ontarians. I mean, like a Gord Downey long weekend would be nice.
That would be cool.
That'd be a sweet tribute. An Alex Trebek long weekend.
I could get down for an Alex Trebek long weekend. And then, because like a lot of long weekends, they try and church them up of like, yes, you get a day off work, but here's what it's about.
Yeah.
You could tell people that the August long weekend is about learning. Go and read a book this weekend.
Screw that.
Oh.
Absolutely not. I do like the idea of a Trebek long weekend, and you call it What is a Long Weekend, Long Weekend?
Oh. Or no, just it's the What is a Long Weekend.
Yeah. Someone just texted in Chris Hadfield's from Ontario. That's right, the Pride of Milton, Ontario.
Would it be weird to name a long weekend after somebody who's still alive, though? Like,
Do you have to die to be? Yeah.
I'm just saying it would feel weird for Chris Hadfield to celebrate the Chris Hadfield long weekend.
So we got to wait till Chris Hadfield dies, and then we can call it our out of this world weekend.
Done.
That's what it is?
Every radio station in Ontario just figured out their plans for the August long weekend.
We're getting spacey this August long weekend.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I know we've been talking a lot about the Olympics, but I got to say, hands down, the silliest event to watch is the speed walking event.
Oh, race walking? Yeah.
Did you see any of that yesterday?
Absolutely. We had a medal contender in there, old Evan Dunphy.
I get it. It is a skill.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that it looks stupid.
You know what? I won't go so far as to say it looks stupid. I will say it looks silly. The technique involved in the whole heel-toe thing.
And I know this is a lame joke to make, but it just looks like they all have to go to the bathroom.
That it does look
right?
A lot like
it
that.
Looks like they all just hit up a Taco Bell, like 100 dudes together.
Yeah.
And they're all on a mission to get there.
Because you've got that sort of that clenched, like it's small steps because of the technique of the race. Everybody's very upright.
It's that clenched kind of like,
yeah. Everybody looks like they're holding in, and of course now they're all moving quickly, so it looks like they're all shuffling to a bathroom.
It's that walk that everyone does in the keeps the hands like nice and tight, where you're like, I have to keep everything tight, or else everything's going to come out of me.
If I relax a single muscle in my body, it is over for me.
I will say, I do want to figure out the technique on that for the next time that I do have that feeling, because apparently they were saying they can go up to like 9 miles an hour.
Right. Like, what am I ever going to do if I learn how to throw the discus? That's not going to help me. But if I become gifted at race walking, there's a chance in my life that's a skill I'll use.
Hold up. Dumb thought here. What do you think would be harder to do? If you had to go to the bathroom, do you think it would be harder to throw the discus or to speed walk?
Oh, the discus for sure. The speed walk, you're all
clenched. Yeah.
You're all clenched up. You're nice and tight.
On the release of the discus, you could literally lose it all.
Anything where you're spinning
a
little bit out of control is probably not ideal if you're having tummy issues.
If they were to have a bowel movement Olympics, where I'm saying every contestant has to go to the bathroom before they compete.
The contests are not about the bowel movement, but you have to be on the precipice.
They make them drink a bunch of water, take some X-Lax, whatever it is. What would be the hardest event to compete in?
Oh, it's weightlifting.
Yeah.
It's 100% it's weightlifting. Yeah. You're putting all that strain, some of these guys, the bars that they're lifting, you're going to rock it off the ground. You're enforcing with such incredible power.
That's true. Because even I watch the diving sometimes, and I always think, because they got to stay in the same spot. It's like, do you think any of them ever, not to be gross, but do you think any of them ever pee in the pool?
Oh, 100% they do.
It has to happen, right?
Absolutely. They're out there for like 3 hours in a competition in those super tight bathing suits, guys and girls. The only options they have, you never see a diving competitor just dip into the dressing room.
It's got to happen in swimming too, right?
They're in the pool, or in the pool for sure.
Yeah.
100%. I bet there's even guys that try to time it for that last like couple strokes towards the wall for like a speed boost.
Yeah. If you're in first place, you're not leaving everyone in your dust, you're leaving them in your piss. Someone just texted in javelin would probably be the toughest sport because you can't stay clenched in that either.
Yeah, that's another one.
High jump.
Dude, on the gymnastics, what's the parallel bars, the ones where they spin and they swing from bar to bar?
Yeah.
Dude, you're up in the air doing a double backflip. You're not really clenched as hard as maybe you need to be if you're on the verge.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Friend of the show, Jonathan, on the phone here, man. What would be the worst Olympic event to have to go to the bathroom while you're competing?
Definitely wrestling. High school, I literally had to run off the mat to the bathroom and forfeited the match.
No!
Yeah.
So what are you just like on the mat and you're like, hold up.
Yeah, I did the timeout and I disappeared.
What's that old Robert Munch book? I gotta go pee. Just laying on the wrestling mat. I gotta poo.
What does that fall under? Is that just a DQ, I guess?
Yeah, I lost the match. They disqualified, yeah.
In pro wrestling terms, he lost by count out.
Lost by brownout, more like it. Thanks for calling, Jonathan.
I just thought of something else, actually. We lost him. I wanted to ask him about this. In wrestling, your opponent will like pick you up and slam you if he gets the opportunity. Imagine the feeling. You're like, you got bubble guts.
Your guts.
And you get dropped flat on your back or on your stomach. That's going to be way worse for the guy throwing you than for you.
Oh, man. Just in general, like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. That feeling in your stomach, it's like when you're standing at a concert and you gotta go to the bathroom, especially if you're at a festival or something and you're, like, close down to the front.
Yeah, you know it's a long way to go.
You're literally SOL.
You just kind of have to, like... Can I fight through this?
Yeah.
Or can I accept the consequences?
What is actually the toughest thing in general when you gotta go?
I'll tell you this. Talking to your kids. When you have to go and they just are like, Dad. You're like, I have to go. They don't care. My kids are 8 and 10 years old. They want to tell me the thing that they want to tell me. It's the most important thing in the world.
It's funny because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
But I will say when I'm walking my dogs, it's the worst. Because it's kind of like the speed walking thing that we were saying. Like, you're moving around or whatever.
Right.
But I'm also watching my dog Silas. He pees on every tree. And so it's almost like triggering you. It's like if someone's playing water sounds.
A constant reminder like, hey, did you need to go? Because look at me, I can go whenever I want.
Yeah.
And if I do a number 2, you have to stop and pick it up.
Exactly. Someone just texted in being on a first date. It doesn't matter if it's a 1 or a 2. You're sitting there and like you're trying to be attentive.
Right.
Yeah.
You're trying to have this conversation. You're trying to get to know someone. Maybe there's a spark there. You're just really like, oh man, I'm really feeling something. Oh. No, I'm feeling dinner. Damn it.
Dude, date, job interview, anything like that.
Everybody knows you got to go to the bathroom before you go. It's like when you're taking kids on a road trip. Everybody goes to the bathroom before we go.
Sometimes you get the nerves going and it just sneaks up on you.
That's
though, right?
True. Nervous stomach is a toxic waste dump.
Yeah, and
if
you're trying to get through something, it's all you're thinking about in your brain.
Well, and then because you're having this conversation, they're asking you like, oh, if you were hired in this company, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you have to go, sorry, can you repeat yourself? Because all you've been thinking for the last 5 minutes is don't.
Yeah. You know, they always say, like, you shouldn't make decisions after you make love or when you're drunk.
Right.
You shouldn't make decisions when you really have to go to the bathroom.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I always give my kids grief for not having the best memory, which I know is ironic. Because they come by it honestly, and they get it from me.
Yeah, probably.
But a joke that I've always used with my oldest is that they have a goldfish memory, because that's the myth, right? Goldfish only remember for 3 to 5 seconds, and then it disappears.
Well, that's the classic joke about fish is they swim around the tank and they go, ooh, look at that.
Somewhere new.
Yeah.
A researcher from down in the States has come out and said this whole thing is a myth, and through scientific study, which I love, that they took the time to do scientific study of goldfish memories, they can actually remember things for upwards of 11 months.
Oh, man. You know what's terrifying?
What?
Is think about all the goldfish that have been flushed down the toilets that weren't actually dead.
Oh, they remember.
They remember everything then.
Also, if you have a tank with more than one goldfish, every time you've gone in to scoop one out and flung it into the trash can,
Yeah.
all the other fish remember that.
Although after 11 months for a goldfish, it's kind of like Shutter Island, and they forget
And then it
how
resets.
they got there kind of thing.
Now, that said, I started thinking, I was like, well, if this has been, because I've thought this my whole life, if this turned out to be a myth,
Yeah.
what are some other animal myths?
I did actually recently learn that dogs don't see in just black and white.
No, dogs and cats,
There's like selective colors that they can see.
they have green-blue color patterns in their eyes. They
Well-
can see green and blue, and then things look a little pinkish if they're outside of that.
The only reason why I learned this is like maybe a month ago, me and Courtney tried to do one of those photo shoots with the dogs where you put like the colored powder on them and try and get them to shake.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't work. The dogs refused to shake.
Perfect.
And Murphy, who's like mostly white, she had blue all over, and we took her to our doggy daycare. Shout out, who's a good dog.
Yeah.
And as I went in there, the guy was like, I was like to him, I was like, oh, I hope they don't make fun of Murphy. And I was like, good thing they see in black and white. He's like, oh, they see blue.
This is this is the worst color you could
And I
have
was like, oh no. Oh no.
Your dog's getting bullied.
She's
at
going to get
daycare.
roasted at daycare now.
Then on the other side of that, bullfighting, running of the bulls, all that
That one's
stuff.
not true, I know for sure.
Because bulls are colorblind.
Yeah.
They can't see the red. Everybody's like, oh, red makes bulls angry.
They're seeing red, yeah.
BS the whole time. Bats are not blind.
No?
No,
I thought they used like sonar or
They
something.
use echolocation to find things,
Yeah.
but they still have functional eyes.
Yeah.
That's how they get around when they're not using the sonar.
So blind as a bat is just offensive. I've also seen bats just run into things too.
Well,
so.
sure, because they're dumb flight animals, but they're not blind.
Okay.
And then I think one of the weirdest ones, when you watch cartoons, ostrich gets nervous. What does it do? Buries its head in the sand. Ostriches don't do that. Ostriches have never buried their head in the sand, but that is like a long-standing myth. Oh, you just bury your head in the sand like some kind of ostrich. Not a thing.
But do they make coyotes go crazy?
Is there a difference between an ostrich and a roadrunner? Are they pretty much the same animal?
I don't know. I always thought the roadrunner was an ostrich. Is the roadrunner an animal?
Roadrunner is the name of is the animal, not the name of the creature.
I thought that was the name of it.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast. Is it real? Is it fake? Do we even care? Let's find out.
We got talking about some animal facts on the show today because we found out that the idea that goldfish forget everything after just seconds or minutes is actually a myth, and they can remember things up to 11 months after they happen. So we thought we would try sort of a version of real or fake where I have myths that we've all heard before, and I have facts that maybe you haven't heard. And you're going to try and tell me which ones are fact and which ones are fiction.
Okay.
All
All right, let's go.
So let's get right into this here. Number one, Australia as a continent is wider than the moon. Is that a myth or a fact?
I mean, I'm going to say that's a fact.
Oh, whoops, nope, wrong button,
Am I right?
wrong button. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say the moon isn't as big as we think it is.
That's just it, yeah. And Australia, bigger than people think it is. It just sits in the corner of the map.
Yeah.
It is wider than the moon. All right, 1 for 1. Number 2, humans only use 10% of our brains.
I mean, a lot of the people that I see on the roads usually do this. I'm going to go myth on that one.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Myth. Yeah, someone started that of like, oh, you can unlock the potential of your brain. Right now, we only use 10%. If you only use 10% of your brain, you have a serious medical problem. That's not a good thing.
You got to lay off the weed, man.
Next one, dropping a penny from the Empire State Building. If it hit someone at the bottom, would kill them.
See, I heard this so much growing up.
Yeah. People have been saying this for decades.
I want it to be a fact because it's just recess talk, basically. Is it a fact?
It is a myth. The penny is not big enough to get the turn because things. Can
How did
only
they find
fall so
that out, by
fast.
the way? Were they dropping pennies off the building? Did they figure it out?
No, honestly, it's just the math.
Yeah.
It's everything has a terminal velocity, the fastest speed it can fall. A penny at its fastest speed is not
So
heavy
hold up.
enough.
If they haven't tried it, then they don't actually know.
Fair enough.
Right?
Next one. The Eiffel Tower is taller in summer than it is in the winter.
Huh?
The Eiffel Tower is taller in the summer.
Oh, would that have to do with the
is in the
ground,
winter.
I guess?
Is it? And it's from the base of the structure to the top of the structure.
I guess,
not the ground.
it's kind of like the foundation in your house between the winter and the summer. I'm going to say that's a fact.
It is a fact, but it's the metal expanding in the heat and contracting, so it's not the ground. It actually shrinks in the winter by a massive 6 inches, which is a lot from my understanding.
Same here.
Yeah. Next one. Adding salt to water makes it boil faster. So old cooking, people have been doing this for years. But
I don't think that's true. I think that's just a taste thing.
Correct. People think that it will make the water boil faster, but the reason you see chefs doing it is for the taste of what you're boiling.
I hung around a lot of Italian families growing up.
Oh, you had the advantage.
I knew that one, yeah.
Grocery store apples, when you buy them, can already be up to a year old from the time they were picked. A year between picking and purchasing in grocery stores.
I feel like the apples just go bad so fast, so I'm going to say that's not true.
When farmers pick apples from their orchards, they are covered in like wax and other preservatives and things to make them last longer. So by the time it gets to the grocery store, out on the shelves and into your cart, an apple can be up to a year old.
Then what does it go bad in a week?
And then you take it home and it rots immediately.
Happens? Yeah, what happens there?
Next one, I got 2 more for you.
Okay.
Albert Einstein failed math class.
That one's not true.
Correct. It is a myth that people use to make themselves feel better about failing at things.
I remember that because I was failing math, and then one teacher told me that, and then I used that the next year, and my next teacher was like, that's not true at all.
Man was doing advanced calculus at the age of 15. He was fine.
All right, what's the last one?
Last one. With the Olympics on, I thought this would be fitting to finish on. Painting, at one point, was a medalable official Olympic sport.
Well, they did used to have taxi car races. They had tug of wars. They had pistol duels.
Could you win a gold medal at the Olympics at one point for painting a picture?
I feel like it was almost just like a carnival event. Like that's what the Olympics was at one point. It was like the fall fair. Yeah. So I'm going to say that one's true.
It is true. It was painting and sculpting, and there was also a music category where you would be judged on your performance and awarded a medal in the early 1900s.
I wonder if they did nude painting.
Oh, almost certainly.
Like if they just had people stand there. And then those people also got medals for their participation.
They got one of them Greek wrestlers to come over after his event and just stand for them.
That would have sucked in the Winter Olympics.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Did you see the video of Snoop Dogg dancing at the Olympic gymnastics event?
Oh, man, he's been all over the Olympics.
Honestly, he has. There was the clip that's come out is like Simone Biles and another member of the American women's gymnastics team. They're like dancing and grooving, just having a good time, like outside of an event. And everybody's like, oh, look at how much fun they're having. And then the camera kind of follows like their eye line to what they're looking at. And sure enough, it lands on old Uncle Snoop just standing up in the audience dancing with them.
Yeah.
And he's now gone from like, oh, that's cool that he carried the torch, and oh, how fun, he's doing the commentary. He's literally now inspiring medals from the athletes for Team America.
I know we talked about how you can't drink at the Olympics.
Yeah.
I wonder where he's smoking.
Oh, I'm sure just on the streets of Paris.
Like, I wonder if they're giving him like a designated room or something. Because it seems like he's having the time of his life. And if I know Snoop Dogg, he's going to Snoop Dogg.
You know what, though? Like, we need someone like this. Like, where's our Canadian equivalent to be there, to be the muse, to be the inspiration for our athletes? We've talked about how stressful and nerve-wracking these events are. The Americans have Snoop just up in the crowd trying to break the ice for them.
It's also wild to think that if you told someone back in the 90s that Snoop Dogg would be the figurehead that he is at the Olympics right now, no one would believe you. The guy was on trial for murder and stuff at one point.
And now he's like one of the most beloved characters in North America.
But I don't know who's the Canadian Snoop Dogg, I guess is the question. Like,
who could play that role of almost like being the, you know who it could have been? And I say that if these Olympics had been a year ago, I think Ryan Reynolds could have been this guy for Canada.
Yeah,
could have been at the events, could have been doing the interviews, could have been doing like stuff on the CBC, and people would have been like, "Oh, Ryan Reynolds."
I think there's a lot of people that are like me that have kind of like over Ryan Reynolds at this point.
Oversaturated.
But I still think he'd be a big draw at the Olympics just in general.
Oh,
for
100%.
Sure.
Would catch some attention. I just don't know that it'd be the same. What about Keanu Reeves?
He doesn't really seem like he's got that personality. Like, he seems like a nice guy.
He's beloved, but maybe not the energy to do it.
He doesn't really seem like kind of like a hype man or anything like that.
Okay, you want energy? Canada's own Jim Carrey.
See, even him, he's really kind of toned it down the past few years. He's also gone a little bit cuckoo.
Well, that is true. He's toned it down, but he can still turn it on. Like, you see some interviews, he can go when he needs to go.
He just doesn't seem... If it was the 90s, if you're talking like the 96 games in Atlanta, he's there. If you're at Nagano or something, he's the guy. I think if you want Snoop Dogg at the Olympics... You get the Trailer Park Boys out there.
Whoa.
You don't need one guy. You need all three of them. You need Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles, all three of them out there.
Yeah.
That's the move.
That would actually, and I mean, they'd probably take the work. You know what I'm saying?
Imagine seeing Bubbles run with the torch. I don't know why, but that's just so funny.
And it's great because Mike Smith, the guy who plays Bubbles, is a perfectly normal, capable human being. But he puts on those glasses and everything is funnier.
Imagine looking out into the crowd and seeing Julian just holding a drink.
He's standing next to the judges' table as they hold up their scorecards, and he just holds up a rum and coke.
Yeah, Ricky standing in those track pants and that button-up shirt.
Or if you want to, maybe the magic ingredient for Snoop is, as you mentioned, the smoking. We do have a Seth Rogen in the bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, he could go that same route of Uncle Snoop.
I would like to see him on the commentary just, yeah.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Have you seen this story going viral about wedding invitations?
No.
Some woman is made a video and she's talking about they're trying to have a small wedding, her and her husband. They've been engaged for 2 years. They're finally pulling the trigger. They don't have a lot of money. They've been doing a lot of traveling, so they're trying to do this on the cheap. So they only invited a certain amount of people. But what they did that's causing a bit of an uproar is they sent un-invitations to the people who were not invited to the wedding.
That
who are
seems
in their
very
life.
unnecessary, doesn't it?
So that's the thing. Because they're trying to keep the wedding so small, what she thought was the right thing to do was to send basically letters to people who were not invited, but they wanted to let them know, like, hey.
I'm getting it. That's a dick move, though. That's like the kid that goes to school and is like, you're not invited to my birthday party. You're not invited to my birthday party. You're not invited to my birthday party.
See, and that's the thing. I'm kind of on the fence because I get what they're saying, right? Because, like, if you're having a wedding or if your friend is getting married and you are close friends, but you're not going to make the cut, I would want to hear something. I would want some explanation as to why I'm not invited to my friend's wedding.
I think that stings more than anything, man. That's like asking someone, like, do I look fat in this? And they're like, yeah. Sometimes honesty isn't the best policy, in my opinion. I think it's, if you didn't get an invitation, you didn't get an invitation. But, like, if someone's literally being like, you're not coming to my wedding, and now I have justified it to you, doesn't that hurt a little bit more?
See, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe this is me, but if I don't hear, then it's up to my imagination to decide why I didn't get the invitation.
It's still up to your imagination why you did get the uninvitation, isn't it?
Well, no, because if the uninvitation is like, hey, like, we're only inviting this many people, and unfortunately, like,
and
we've got
you didn't
family,
make the cut?
We've got family that we had to make sure were involved and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think it's as bad, but a lot of people are saying the same as you. Maybe I'm just sympathetic.
It's like rep hockey coaches when they pull kids into the dressing room and let them know they didn't make the team.
You got cut.
Yeah. You see kids coming out celebrating, others looking sad. That's all this is.
I will say this, that there is one other part to the story, and this is where I do think it's a dick move, is that some of the uninvitations also included invitations for the bridal shower. like the stagette
Oh,
party.
that'd be a hard no for me, man.
That's where I think it's. I say if you want to tell people like, hey, unfortunately, like it's just not going to work out. We don't have enough room at our wedding, but we love you. We wish you could be there. Blah blah blah. If you follow that up with, but if you want to come out and buy me a bunch of drinks, maybe get me a wedding gift in advance. That's great.
I would be sending an uninvite back to that. That's exactly what I'd be doing.
762-555. The uninvitation. Is this the new trend in weddings? Letting people know that they can't come to your wedding? Or is it just a dick move?
It's a coward's move, in my opinion.
I don't know about... I can see dick move. I don't think it's cowardly to put yourself on the line.
If you want to
like
tell
that.
someone they're not going to your wedding, tell them like a man.
Do it in person?
Yeah. Don't hide behind a card.
Who's got time?
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store. With all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.